Hello, welcome. In this video I'd like to talk about classes and structures. Okay, first I'm going to start with classes because this is what you'll probably be using the most. Um, Class and the structure are very much alike. In a minute you'll see why. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, here I can show you a basic class. You start out, if you look over here to the right, in my Solution Explorer. We've added a header file, like I've shown before. Here's where you would create your class. At the end of your class, you always have this semicolon. This tells at the end. Just like a function, except for you use the keyword class to begin your class. Then the variable name as you choose. So this name can be whatever you choose, but it's meant to name the class identifier. Okay, and we say public, as in this means that anything below this, all this here, is public, meaning that it can be used when we create the object of this class. We'll get more into detail about that later. Private means that it can only be used within the class itself. And what I mean by that is you probably noticed over here that there's two files with the same name. They have different extensions. We have our header file and a CPP file. Up till now, the only CPP file that we had was the main, if I remember correctly in these videos. When you create a class, you always have a CPP. Okay. So we've created all this. We basically what we've done here in creating this header file is this declaring that it's all there. Like everything, we've created this class called person record, and we're saying that it has all of these methods, as they're called, and all of these variables. Okay. So we move into the CPP file. You'll see that we have redefined these these methods, and we've also used the variables. Okay, if we get a little more into explanation of this, okay, we have a method that's meant to set a name. Okay, so you see here it says void. This is actually a return, so you got to try to remember on the left side of the variable in our class declaration is to decide what's going to be returned. In this case, void means nothing. Actually, in every case, void means nothing. But in this case, we're going to use nothing as a return, so it's not going to return anything. So we're going to set a value, and we're telling it that it's going to be a string value. Now we could put a name in here just to identify. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have a data type to identify, that's all you really need. I always like to at least put something in there to let me know that that's part of it. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to show you that you don't have to do that. But you do need a data type when you're passing information in. Okay, and the next thing that we have is a way to get the name that we're storing inside of this variable here. Okay, so the first time we set the name, we took whatever string variable we're passing in and we're putting it inside of the variable name. Okay, in this case, we're actually going to return the name. So as you can see here, instead of it being void, we're returning a string. So we have get name and set name. We do the same thing for a number, get number, set number. And then we have what's called a constructor, which you can see is the name of the class, followed by these parentheses. Every method has parentheses, followed by a semicolon when you declare it. And as you'll notice, most of the time what I do when I create my CPP is that for every method I have, you just copy it, go into the CPP, and you'll see, like, if I paste this out, see that it matches the set name. Of course, the thing that we're missing is the name of the class, so we always got to add the name of the class in order to make this work. And then when we type the 2 colons, you can see it pops up in the IntelliSense, and it tells us what methods that we can use. And when you see this lock next to it, it means that it can only be used within these methods, or within these the CPP itself here, for this class. It can only be used within the CPP for that class. So name and number can only be used in here, as I've used it here. Okay, so then we'd have a starting and an ending bracket when we declare this, and then we're going to tell it what to do when this is being called. So in this case, what we're doing is we're passing the name in. So when you use this object for this class that we've created, it's named person record, it's going to have a method called set name. So if we call the object and then say set name, we can pass the name into this method, and we can set it into the object by using the object's variable. So we see up here its name. Okay. So the same goes for the return. Now in return, when we're trying to return the value, we use the keyword return and then the variable name. So now we're returning the name. So once we've set it, we can return it. Okay. Talk a little bit about the constructor. Okay, like I said, it's the name of the class. You can see it's exactly the same. Basically this is a place for us to initialize our variables, our private variables that we've declared inside of our class. We can automatically make them equal something. In some cases, you know, you might want to make them equal something. In this case, I could put John in, and that would be the first name that it would load, and it wouldn't make a difference if you run the program here. Automatically already has a name in. Okay. If you go to the main now, we can see that what we do when we want to use this class here is we name the class and we create a variable of it. So it's just like before. Like if we look at here, we have an int. Well, basically we're calling on a class for int, and we're creating a variable of that type. It's the same concept with using these classes that we've created. We created a person record. It has methods and things that it can do, and then we're creating a variable of it. It's a little different. To come down here, we can see that we're using that method that we created earlier. You see here, we put a dot, and you can see the methods pop up inside of our main. And we can pick set number, and in this case I've asked the user to enter an account number. Whenever number is put in is what it's going to pass. It's going to set that number. And up here, I would also point out, inside of your main, you always want to include your header for your class. So in order for it to recognize your class, you have to, in order for you to create an object of your class, you have to include it. Okay, and you can pretty much see everything else and what goes on. I've included this as an example that you can download. You can mess with this code a little more, try to get used to it. I'm going to pop over here again to structures. A structure, like I said before, is just the opposite of a class. Everything that's inside of a class is defined publicly automatically. Just the opposite in a structure, everything is declared privately automatically. Now, there ain't really much difference. Of course, it saves you time. If everything's going to be private, you might as well just use a structure. So that's basically it. There's really not much other use as far as I know. There's not really much use, and as far as I've been taught, that's really the only difference. Let me talk a little bit more about these classes. You can see, like I said before, you have a return the data type. If it's setting a variable, you need a parameter. You're passing the integer data type. If you go in here, person record is the constructor. I think that pretty much covers classes. If you have any questions, just post, like usual. There's something else I could point out. You always include your IO stream. If you only have one class, it's best to include everything in this. Like you used the header before, you can still include, things that don't need to be in your way in these files somewhere. Of course, you don't want to mix it up either. You want to make sure you know where it's at. You want to make sure it's accessible to other programmers if you're working as a team. So, but it is possible to, like include everything in the header file, and then when you look down here at the main, you can see all I've included is that header. So basically, it goes down the line and includes this, and then that includes that. So everything can be seen in the main too. So you can see I'm using the cout, and I don't have either of those headers there. I don't have the namespace or the string or ISO or input-output stream. It all passes through the header files. So this is what you want to get used to. Alright, so thanks for watching another one of my videos. I'll be trying to get as many in as I can, so you guys can keep learning this stuff.